Well, I told you guys when I could talk about it, I would. But first, I've been dealing with some criticism about the fact that I'm taking high doses of psilocybin. Y'all don't know like my past. You know about Hurricane Katrina. And a lot of it's just personal shit and things I don't really feel like talking about publicly. But I've had an incredible amount of abuse and being undiagnosed autistic and growing up Gen X, I mean, it's no one knew what that was. So the difficulties and what I've had to live with my whole life have been very traumatizing. I don't think I've ever been in a healthy relationship, and I am only newly, finally single and really having the space to deal. And when my marriage ended about 8 months ago, it was the beginning of me really going down this rabbit hole. And the only reason I did a really high dose when I did is because I had just found out that it was ending and I had to go to Europe to film the documentary. And I didn't have my home, I didn't have therapy, I didn't have anything. And I went and took a high dose and I learned a lot in it. And it opened up a world of things I needed to work on. So this next high dose, 10 grams, I knew was going to be rough, but I needed it. It's what the mushroom told me to do. I could feel it. This is not recreational. This is not fun. I'm not trying to be a psychonaut. This is healing. And this is where I know I need to be. I think I'll have to do it one more time. After that, though, I'm looking forward to being able to continue on much lower doses, like 5 grams. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I've never felt as grounded and finally in my body and free as I do now. And it's because of the trip that I'm about to talk to you about. It's my first bad trip, but I don't call it bad. There was nothing about it that was bad. It was hard as fuck. It was excruciatingly painful. And I want to talk to you about how I dealt with it so that maybe if you have had one or are afraid that you may, I want you to use this maybe to help you. And that's why I want to share it with you. This is a trigger warning. If any of you have difficulties with violence and death, I saw things that I will be discussing in this video in my trip. And some of the things involved family members, children. So if you're sensitive to anything like that and you think that you can't handle that, I would leave now. If you're in a really bad place right now, I can't tell you don't listen because it's a happy ending. So maybe that's good. Those are all the trigger warnings. I will go through it with you. There's nothing that was good. It was all bad. Not bad, challenging, painful, and difficult. I have a video about bad trips. Please go watch that. It started with me. I took the 10. I took it with lemon tech. I took it with tea. I had someone highly trained with me who was holding space with me, sitting right beside me, who knew exactly what I was doing and felt like I was competent to do it. That person has been working with psilocybin for 25 years. I work very hard to find highly accomplished people in their field to work with me because I know that my challenges are very deep and very difficult. And I know that not anyone can handle someone taking doses that high. And it requires trust from both sides. I am very grateful. So thank you for sitting with me for that. And bless your ears, my God. So when I took it, it was 8 minutes before I started hearing the sounds of the universe, that universal hum. I have the beginning of my trip in another video. And after I saw the elephant and after I had that initial conversation with the praying mantis people, and I talk about that in the entities that I see on psilocybin in that video. And that will be in this playlist also on YouTube. Unless they make me take it down, then this video will be along with all of the other videos of me actually doing things on camera and preparation and all that stuff for Amanita. And all that's at amanitadreamer.net. When I finally said, look, is this all you've got? Bring it. at the very beginning of the trip, because like it was a little underwhelming. I'm like, is this all you got? And I'm like, I said, well, bring it. I'm here to study. I'm here to grow. I'm here to learn. And they sucked me into the void. I have a video about that where I talk about the void. That is also in this playlist. Please go watch that. And I enjoyed the void and I sat in it for a long time. It was beautiful. I cried talking about it. And then the trip began, the work began. And it started with me being on a roller coaster, but instead of just going straight down, it just started tumbling. And so I just started rotating and tumbling through a vortex. And I'm like, okay, this is making me sick and dizzy. And I kept seeing flashes of faces of people. And as I saw their face, I had a feeling. And it was people that I've known in my life. And it was random. It wasn't in any sort of order. Something from college, something from childhood, something from last year. It was interactions with people and seeing their faces were the faces of the things that they were feeling during our interaction together. And then my feelings about how they were feeling and my feelings about the interaction with them and sort of reliving that interaction. But it would be over in a second. Like the face would be there. I would feel it powerfully, deeply, and be like, oh God. And then it would be gone. And then it would be something else. And I would laugh about it. And I was kicking a can and laughing as a kid or whatever, jumping on a trampoline with my friend and they're jumping and I'm jumping. But all of this is happening upside down as I'm tumbling and right side up and upside down and right side. And it just kept going and going and going and going. And I could feel that I was quiet, but finally I told the entity that was there, I said, I'm getting really sick. Can we please just do this without the flipping? So they stopped the flipping and they said, look, you've been here many times before. And immediately I remembered it. I remember doing everything I'd just done before. I remembered everything they were laying out in front of me. They were like scrolls and scripts. And I had read those scrolls and scripts before. I had been down this road before. And I said in my mind, when was I here before? And they said, just last week. I was like, I started to laugh and then I remembered being there just last week. But then my consciousness was like, I haven't been on psilocybin or trip in like 6 months. So I know I wasn't here in a trip just last week, but I remember being there just last week, like they said. And I'm like, oh God. And I remembered all the many times before that I had been there. And so they're showing me and they're moving it, these papers and scrolls past my face. And I'm reading them as they're scrolling them past, and I'm soaking up everything they say. Immediately I know what they are, and they are scripts of lifetimes. And I'm not just reading them, like I'm feeling them, lifetimes. And it's really awful stuff, not good things to feel. It's just one really shitty thing after another of rape and murder and just violence. And I'm just like, geez, like what a shitty life. These are shitty lives. And then the flipping started again. And I was like, oh my God, really? Can we just not do this? Please, this is making me sick. And then again, it was just flashes of life events here in this life of the boy that yanked my glasses off and threw them on the ground and stepped on them. And I thought they were really pretty. And he crushed them and laughed and ran away. And playground stuff, where I got shoved off of a swing and landed in the dirt and then got made fun of because I was all dirty. And then adults, jobs that I've had where I made a mistake or I spilled something on a customer and then they go to the manager and I'm getting cussed at, yelled at. All of these really painful, difficult experiences. But then it started sprinkling in experiences. I'm like, okay, I didn't do that. I didn't experience that. This is not my life, at least not this one. But I know that person. I remember this interaction. So there was one that seemed like it was in the 1800s out west in California or something, like the Wild West. I felt that. I went through a lot of experiences in that lifetime. And being a pretty rough pirate in a bar, hurting people, women, and a lot of violence and being drunk somewhere in the Caribbean. And I'm getting these flashes of these experiences of just pain and trauma. Either I'm inflicting it in another life or it's being inflicted on me in this one. And then, of course, my ex showed up, but not very much. I mean, they were just very small pieces. I think I did the bulk of dealing with that issue the last time back in September when I did, a high dose. This one was more about dealing with the things that I brought to the table when I took this dose. And my intention was remove from me whatever my core trauma is that is keeping me continually feeling sad and stuck and keeping me feeling like I'm missing something, because I want to feel how I felt when I was young, when there was just me and I was born and all I thought about was playing and living and eating and playing and going to school. And I wasn't aware that I was missing anything. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I wasn't sad about anything. And I asked them this time, I'm single, I'm just me, I'm here, my children are grown. So why can't I go back to that? Why do I have to feel like something's missing? Because nothing's missing. I'm me, I'm whole, I'm here, and I have so much to do. And these were the things that I brought to the mushroom. And so these were the things they were showing me. And I trusted, instead of thinking, holy shit, I'll never get out of these spins. Holy shit, these are just awful negative experiences. I'm tired of this. I don't want to keep feeling it. Instead, what I did is have conversations with the entities that were there, saying, please, it's making me sick, all the spinning. And when I would communicate with them, they would always stop for just a moment and say, but we have work to do. Remember this. And then they would show me a memory. And I would completely understand why we were doing what we were doing. It's like they were giving me clarity of purpose and focus. And I said, thank you. Yes, I get it. And they said, can we keep moving? And I said, yes. And then the flipping would start again. And it was just more of this. And it just kept going. But every time I thought to this entity, I need a break. Can we please stop? Because it was getting wilder and faster. And I was like, okay, can we please stop? They would stop for just a brief moment and remind me, we have so much work to do. And I'm so sorry about this, but we've just got so much work to do in such a short period of time. Can you please just try to get through it? And I would say, yes, let's keep going. But I would guess about, from what my the person that was with me said, the way that it was broken up, it feels to me like this part lasted for about an hour in clock. So I would say 45 minutes into it, it went into a vortex. And so I left the void where all of this was happening, and it turned into speeding up, so that we were going whoosh, while I'm spinning, and I start spinning really fast, like going warp speed, hyper speed, only instead of going really straight, it was flipping. And this time the images are coming even faster. It was like they went slow motion, if you want to call it slow motion, but I mean, they were like this image, this image, this image, this image, this image, this image. That's how quickly they were happening. Once we started really spinning through that vortex, the images were just going, and I was feeling them that rapidly, and I couldn't process it. It was stacking up here and in my stomach, and it was starting to impact me, like getting impacted. The feelings and the emotions were coming so quickly, it was making me nauseous. Like my body couldn't hold all those feelings. And it was getting hard to handle and hard to breathe and hard to hold, and the spinning and the spinning and the spinning and the energy of the spinning. There was energy moving past me, intense energy going past my face as I'm moving through it. And that was getting intense. Like a strong wind pulling the skin on your face, only this was energy. And I felt like I was starting to like etch outward behind myself, like through time. And I'm starting to like disintegrate and fall apart as I'm moving through it and flipping and flipping and flipping. And I'm just like, and I could feel myself yelling. Like, that's when I realized I was yelling. And I don't know how long I had been screaming, but the vibrations of me screaming, I started to hear it in my own ears. And I could hear it was echoing, screaming, because I felt like I was fracturing and coming apart. It was excruciatingly painful. I thought to myself, this is some fucking powerful shit. They wouldn't put me through this if powerful healing wasn't taking place. And after all, is that not why I spent the money I spent to get on a plane and the days that it took to get to this place with this amazingly talented, gifted human, with this amazing, beautiful entity, for everything to come together, for me to be sitting here. So do you see what I'm saying? Instead of thinking, oh my God, this is never going to stop, I can't handle it, I thought, this must be some powerful shit. I can't imagine the healing I'm going to get out of this. And then I felt gratitude for the entities that were doing this work with me. And if I could just hang on and deal with what they're doing to me, because they wouldn't be doing this if it weren't especially important and vital. And like when we're all struggling and hurting and we beg for help, we beg the universe, we cry, we want help. Fucking there it is. This is the help. It's here. Like, this is the help. And I've spent 8 years in therapy, thousands and thousands of dollars to not get a fraction of the healing I was getting in this one trip. And that was my mindset. It was just fucking hard, you know? And finally, we went through a portal where I left my mind behind. And when it went, just my mind left, it went whoop, because I had outrun it. I was moving faster than my mind. And when we went through the portal, it hit, my mind hit the portal and I moved through it and my mind didn't. And my mind got ripped out and I left it back there. And as it was leaving, I went, where is my mind? And I laughed in my body because I wasn't laughing up here. But I thought it was humorous. I'm like, where is my mind? Oh, fuck, there it went. Anyway, instead of being freaked out about it, I thought, I've been in so much pain for so long. I've suffered panic attacks my whole life. No answers, no rhyme, no reason, nothing I could get to in therapy. So for them to put me through this, to take my mind, I think they listened. I think I'm going to get what I came here for. And I just felt grateful. And I remember as I left that portal behind, they said, sweet child, hang in there. You're not going to remember any of this. And then all I really have a body memory of is screaming, screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming. And I wasn't sure if I was screaming out loud or like my body was screaming, but I learned later, yes, I was indeed screaming out loud. The next thing that I remember is I could open my eyes and I had to pee really bad, and he helped me crawl. But as soon as I went back in again, and here's the trigger warning part, I landed at a train station and it was open to the outside, but I was in a covered part up against a building. The train was in the station facing me and the tracks went out away, right? And there's an entity on either side of me, holding me back. Is this necessary? It's a nice train station. And then they brought my daughter out. And she was handcuffed and she had chains around her ankles. And she was shuffling and she was coming out. And they said, so you want to talk about this relationship? And I said, yes, she's a soulmate. We travel together a lot. And they said, well, whatever karma that y'all had to work out, you didn't. And whatever issues you haven't fixed them. And I said, we don't really have it. We are doing great. We don't have issues. And then they shot her in the head right in front of me. And I screamed. And it felt like this is really important. When I screamed, I didn't feel the scream here. I felt it in my heart. And as I was screaming, it felt like the screaming went through me and out my back. And like I was screaming for others behind me, and their pain was coming through me and out. I think I was doing ancestral healing, and I was screaming for generations of us, whoever they are. There was pain, and they were screaming. And then people behind them were screaming. Everybody was screaming behind me. Their pain was moving through every one of them and then through me, and I felt all of their pain, and I screamed for all of them. It was the most god-awful pain I've ever known. And so they picked her dead body, they picked her feet up, and they dragged her dead body away with blood trailing behind it. And they dragged her up onto the train with her head just bopping up the stairs. Her dead body. And then the train left with her. And I just kept screaming, no, no, no. And then I was like, this is a trip. You're here to learn. You're growing. She's probably still alive back on Earth. So this is not real. And whatever that was that just happened was important, and it needed to happen, and you need to freaking breathe and get your shit together. And I remember taking really, really, really deep breaths and going, okay, I got this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I heard myself. So I was saying it actually out loud. I was saying, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then they brought my son out in the same way. And he just looked at me. I said, hey, baby. And I said, y'all, please no. Please don't. That was enough. And they said, good news. You don't have bad karma with him. You don't have anything to work out. And I said, oh, thank God. And I went to take a step toward him, and they shot him in the head. And they did the same thing, dragged him, and again, like I felt all this awful pain, and I screamed, but I got my shit together way quicker this time. And as they were dragging his dead body off, I was calm and centered. And I turned to the entity next to me and I said, we had no karma to work out. And they said, no, just what few things are going on in this lifetime, but no, you're good. I said, I feel okay. This is disturbing as fuck, but I feel okay. And they were like, that's good. Stay grounded and stay centered. And then they put a gun to my head and they shot me. And when they did that, my body screamed, but I didn't want to scream here. My body was screaming, but I was screaming out loud, according to the person that was with me. I was screaming out loud. When they shot me in the head, I didn't actually feel something. I just saw the gun. I heard the shot, and I felt things fly out of the side of my head, which supposedly was my brains. I remember I didn't react. And I remember thinking, were you trying to do something there? Because like after you killed my children, I don't really care that you kill me. Like I can live through that. I don't understand the impact that this was supposed to have on me and why you would like do this. It doesn't feel like you're actually serious here. Like what was the point of that? It was weird, and I don't know why you did it. And I feel like I'm supposed to be devastated by it. And they said, well, it was it was an allegory. It was symbolism. Like, we were trying to tell you, like, if you kill the things that are important, like, never mind, we'll work it out later. But like, you understand that you had to let that part of you go. And I was like, oh, okay. So you were killing a part of me that needed to go. They were like, well, yeah, basically. I said, but then why do you have to be so violent about it? Do you see what I'm saying? If something really upsetting and awful happens to you in a trip, talk to them about it. Ask the questions out loud. You'll get the answers. And when you can feel like you're a participant, not a victim, if you feel the gratitude of the entities, that, can you imagine what it's like to be them, that they have to do this work every day, for eternity, whatever, that they do this work, that this is what they have to witness and deal with, and do it so compassionately and so thoroughly, and hold so much space. You know what I mean? And so they said, are you okay to continue? And I said, yeah, let's keep moving. And then we went back through the vortex thing again. And after we started going through that vortex thing again, I finally just started saying, okay, I need a break, because they were showing me things that were really painful and devastating, and then yanking stuff out of me. And I would scream every time that they would rip stuff out. So this time going through the vortex, it was ripping stuff out, not just experiencing, but ripping stuff out of me. And it was getting exhausting. And I would just be like, please, I need a break. And then whew, it would stop. So you see, you can ask for a break. I mean, they wouldn't give it to me right when I asked. I could hear like this voice saying, we're almost there. You can do this. You've got this. We love you. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You're almost there. And like, they were being like, it was this echoey, distant, faint voice. And it helped me keep going to get to the end of whatever this was, you know? And as soon as they could give me a break, they stopped everything and we just stopped. And it was interesting the way that they would ask for permission to continue. And I think that a lot of people feel like they can't control what's happening to them. And I want you to experiment with trying to be a partner in your experience, and ask for a break when you need a break. And there were many, many times that I would ask for that break in my head, and the person sitting with me was holding that space for me, would show up in my trip and center me and help me center and focus and breathe and calm down. And they could calm me down and like actually reduce my heart rate and my level of intensity, so that I could remember to work with the entities again and talk to the entities and say, I need a break. Can we take a break? It was 3 hours of screaming, according to the person who was holding space with me. And I felt it. My body was just exhausted. Anytime that I could open my eyes, I would try to do that. But I was crying so heavily, and I was just snotty and had hair across my face. I couldn't like really actually see much of anything, but I could just sort of see light in the room, and just tell the person I was with, like, this is really fucking brutal, you know? And then they would take me back again. There was a lot of cussing. I was doing that a lot, just going, fuck, because I would just get so exhausted, and it was just so intense. And sometimes they would ask again, they would stop and ask for consent to continue. And all I would say is just fuck. But also saying at the same time, this sucks, but like, thank you. And that was the consent that they needed to keep moving. At one point, it finally let up, and I opened my eyes and was able to keep them open. They did surgery on me one last time, and I was awake and aware for it. And I was left tattered, and it felt like lots of hanging, gaping, raw, open, bleeding, oozing, empty tissue spaces. And over the next 24 to 48 hours, they would come to me like in my sleep or when I was resting or taking a nap, and they would just lay me back, bring me out of my sleep or wherever I was and lay me down. And like a lot of entities came and worked on me. And it was beautiful. They were putting gauze and like stitching up places that were weeping and hurting, and feelings were oozing, and there was crying and sadness and pain and just stuff that was hanging, tissue, energetic tissue that was hanging. And they would sew it up, patch it up, and then put packets of information in it that I could feel were made out of the beautiful universal geometry that we see, all those beautiful purples and blues that move around that geometry. They would take a packet that had information in it about that particular space, how to heal the tissues around it rapidly, and how to heal that energy rapidly. And they would tuck it in there, and that entity packaged it themselves from universal consciousness and knowledge with love, and tucked it away in there, and would like kiss me on the head and go away. It's really beautiful. It was painful. It was surgery. It's been 6, 7, 8 weeks, something like that. I didn't really get depressed, just felt like a lot of, how do you grieve when you don't know what you're grieving? How do you ache and hurt when you're not physically aching and hurting, but you feel your spirit aching and hurting? How do you feel like you want to soothe, apologize, hold, and love a bunch of people behind you that are your ancestors that you've never met? How? It's so much healing, so much weird healing. But it was beautiful healing, and just really, I was gentle on myself. I slept, I cared for myself. I got up, I worked, I rested when I needed to rest. I ate healthy, good food. I took all my supplements. I stayed hydrated. I walked every single day, no matter what the weather was. And I'm in such a good place now. I feel light. I would like to tell you what I learned. I don't know what I learned. All I know is I feel like a completely different person. When I say a different person, I mean, like, I've never met this me in this life. The last time I remember seeing her, she was 9 years old and pretty happy, pretty content. And I feel pretty happy, pretty content most of the time. What's different now, I feel lighter on my feet. My joints don't hurt when I do take walks or long walks or whatever. I feel younger. I feel less like I've got toxicity in my body. I feel like a lot of those gaping things have healed. I feel like I'm tapped into something that I wasn't tapped into before. Like, I feel the moon now. I wasn't aware of the moon before. I'm aware of gravity, not just when it's pulling on me, but energetic gravity. I'm much more aware of the trees around me, although they were already my family, but I feel them more even when I'm not like out there among them. I feel, let's see, how do I put this? Intimately connected to fire and water and the wind and the sun and the moon and the dirt and the earth, but now way closer to the fungi than I ever was before. Like, they are soul family. I can close my eyes now, and when I don't feel okay, something feels weird or wrong, I just close my eyes. I immediately ask the mushrooms, what is it? What's going on? Or ask the trip beings, whatever. They immediately tell me what it is. I immediately find it in my body. I feel it intensely, and then it's gone. Like, I can do this really quickly now. So that's great. When shitty things are said about me on the internet and I have to see that and read that, and it hurts, I go to the old place of just, why are people so cruel? Why would somebody believe something like that or even say something like that? Don't they know that, like, I'm going to see it and it hurts and I have feelings? And then I can sort of detach from that and go, oh yeah, hurt people hurt people. And I can sort of detach and send them healing and love, and put it away and walk away. Sometimes it lingers if it's especially cruel or it's sort of in the same way that I was abused when I was younger. So like I said, I do have to go back and take another high dose and do this again. I can still feel some of that. But whatever they took, I feel so light and free in a way I don't remember in my life except when I was a child. And I find myself remembering her regularly now. I feel like I sort of I'm like this bridge from my 9-year-old self to me today that went through this weird, awful series of events, but some of it really beautiful, and brought me these two beautiful children into this world. This is how I work my way through painful, difficult, high dose experiences. This is hard work. I was down for 2 months. I couldn't work very much. I'm working back again now. Like I'm back in the swing of things. But I'm also grateful to be able to heal like this. Not everyone can do this. And I feel grateful that I get to, and I'm going to go one more time. And I think after that, I get to go back down to lower doses, like 5 grams, and hopefully lower than that, just for maintenance. And then I'll continue using Amanita, developing my Amanita products. Mushroomvoice.com is open. YouTube has demonetized my channel because I talk about things like this. So if you want to continue to support me and all of the free stuff that you have on amanitadreamer.net, go to mushroomvoice.com and consider purchasing something out of my store. If you have experiences that were anything like mine, please tell me about it. I want to know what came of it. Like, I really want to talk about this. So comment section. Thank you for listening. I hope I helped some of you if you're going to go deal with some high dose stuff, that maybe you'll remember some of this and work with your guides. What a crazy, beautiful, wonderful experience. We have so much to do. I've got so much living to do. There's so much fun to be had. I hope I'm going to meet some of you guys when my book comes out and I do my book signings or ceremonies or speaking engagements and stuff. Like, I want to meet some of you guys. I love you, beautiful people. Thanks for listening. Bye.